Hello and welcome to Your Tagline Here. This is a brand new podcast. This is the first episode, and also welcome to our brand new studio which we have for this podcast. So you're probably asking, what is this podcast all about? Well, this podcast is all about people. It's about real people sharing their stories about things that they've done in their life, which will range from really deep and emotional topics like depression or addiction. It will also include really inspiring stories about how people have achieved things that they never dreamt that they could have done. And it's also going to include stories where we can learn something from it, where we can take things and apply it to our own lives to hopefully make our lives better in some way. But ultimately, all of the stories should be entertaining. They're going to be funny. They're going to be sad, and really covering all of the emotions on the spectrum. The reason why it's called Your Tagline Here is because each week I'm going to be interviewing a guest, and at the end of that guest's story, I'm going to ask them to provide their tagline for the episode, and that tagline will then be the title for the episode, and it will be a way of all of us to be able to remember that story so that we can bring back the key messages so that we can have them in our own lives. Now, you may have noticed that I'm the only one in the studio today, and that's because as it's the first episode, I thought it would be good to share my own story and to share a bit of background about me. So my name is Simon Tomlinson. I'm from Birmingham, and I am going to be sharing my story about giving up my day job and following my dreams, about doing something that I really enjoy doing for a career. And I hope that this is going to be an inspiring story for other people, because I know that there's a lot of people out there who want to do that themselves, or who are in the process of doing that already. So I hope that through my story, I can help inspire and give you some tips about how to do it yourself. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, yeah, I've already introduced myself. My name is Simon Tomlinson. My new career that I now do is as a full-time freelancer, where I do a variety of things, including a video producer, photographer, I do copywriting, and I also do podcasting as well. And I'm going to talk about how I got to the place where I am now. So the first question on my list of what I'm going to cover is, what was my former career and how did I get into that in the first place? So going back to my childhood and growing up, I never really knew what it was that I wanted to do when I grew up. I went to school, I did my homework, I did what the teachers asked me to do, and I did all right at school, but I didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do beyond that. I guess probably I might have wanted to be a footballer at some stage, but that's not particularly uncommon for a young boy growing up in England. But I never felt like I had the capability or the talent to be able to do it. And actually, I think one of the reasons why I didn't really know what I wanted to do is because not only did I not have that belief in being a professional footballer, I didn't really have the belief in myself to be able to do anything. So I just thought I was going to do something mediocre, work in an office, but yeah, just didn't really have a clue. So I remember going to university and I picked economics to do at a degree level because I thought it was the safe option. I thought it would give me the most amount of options going forward to do something, and I thought, well, I'll do economics because it's the safe option, and then I'll figure out what I want to do at the end of it. But by the end of uni, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I just ended up getting on a graduate scheme with a big organisation and stayed there for the next it's about 15 years that I then worked for that organisation, which was a big utility company in the UK. And what that taught me was, one, that I'm not really designed to work in an office or the corporate lifestyle for my career. I just didn't like the lifestyle that came with it. I didn't like working for other people. And I wanted something where I had more autonomy and more creativity in what I did. But what it did give me was the opportunity to do lots of different jobs within the organisation. So while I was there, I worked in finance, in procurement, in project management, in construction. I basically did everything that I could, but none of those positions really fulfilled me. And that's when I came to the conclusion, when I was about 30, I had like a bit of a midlife crisis, that this career path that I was on wasn't the right one for me, and I wanted to do something different. But even though I'd made that decision, I still didn't know what it was that I actually wanted to do. So I decided at that point to just try lots of different things. So I did lots of traveling, which is such a cliched thing to do with like a mini midlife crisis, and when I was trying to look into myself. But it was definitely a good experience. So I went traveling around South America, Vietnam, went to America as well, and that was definitely a great experience, and helped me to just have time to think and explore different options. I then came back from all of that traveling and just tried doing quite a few different things. So I did some stand-up comedy, which I was awful at, so I didn't pursue that any further. I gave myself a bit of a makeover in terms of my look and my style. I started going out more, being more social, and I actually had some coaching to help improve my confidence, which was part of that makeover. So it wasn't just a makeover about my external image, it was also a makeover of my internal confidence and self-belief. And that then made me actually want to become a life coach myself, because I had some coaching. So I decided that I wanted to be a life coach. I wanted to help other people to go through this sort of transformation themselves. And I originally set up a business which was called Genuine Confidence. So I set it up as a business. I got someone to make me a website, and then my plan was to make videos, put them on YouTube, give out free content, then that would attract clients in that way. So during that process, I then had to go out and buy myself a camera, and I had to figure out how to use it. And I really enjoyed the process of making videos, being on camera, and that's actually been very helpful for the sort of things that I'm doing now, like this, being able to present on camera, being able to present podcasts. I think a lot of that has come from that experience of making videos myself for my own business. But what I found was it was very difficult to get clients as a life coach, because there's loads of life coaches out there, and it just felt like a really saturated market. But at the same time, some of my friends who knew that I was starting to make videos asked me if I could help do some filming for them, for their businesses. And at the time I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, why not? It seems like fun. I wasn't charging anything for it. I was just doing it to help them out. So I actually started filming some events for this public speaking coaching company. And I filmed a couple of their events. They were quite happy with what I'd done, and then they asked me to do it on a regular basis. And that was really the starting point of how this new journey of where I am now really begun. Because at the time I didn't realise that it was going to turn into a career. It was just something that happened. Because I started doing this filming for this public speaking company, and then a lot of the people that were coming onto those training courses that they were putting on saw me filming. I spoke to them afterwards, and I got quite a few people asking me to make videos for them and their business, and then they were offering to pay me, and that's really where it all started. So in a way, it kind of started by accident, but it also started because I was experimenting and trying new things, and that's definitely one of the key learning points for me of how I got to where I am now, is not being afraid to just try different things. And if there's anyone out there who isn't sure about what you want to do, then just try anything and everything until you find something that you really connect with. So after I got those initial few paid bits of work coming in, I then used the money from that to invest in all of this equipment that I now have, from the cameras and the lights and the microphones and everything that goes with it. I was working full-time in that corporate job that I was in for like 2 or 3 years while I was building up my experience. I was building up the equipment that I had and building up the portfolio of work that I was doing. And I also think that was a very important step, that I didn't just decide, right, I'm going to be a video producer and jump into it. I took it slowly and did it one step at a time, and did it in the lowest risk way possible by continuing to work in my normal day job while then building up my business on a part-time basis. Because then when the time did come to give up my job, then I had the confidence with the experience that I'd had and all of the equipment and everything else to be able to do it. So I ended up making that move into being a full-time filmmaker and a full-time freelancer in November 2019, which in hindsight was a terrible time to become a full-time freelancer, because, as you probably know, that was about 3 months before the pandemic hit. And what I did when I left my full-time job was I thought, I've been working really hard for the last 15 years in this job that I don't really like, so I'm going to have a couple of months off, because I've got loads of time to get this business going. I don't need to get started with it straight away, so I'm going to have a couple of months off, and I'm going to go on holiday to a few places. So I went surfing in Portugal, I went to Alicante, and I went surfing in Gran Canaria as well, which was a fantastic experience. But had I known what was going to happen, then I probably wouldn't have done those things, or maybe I wouldn't have left my normal job when I did. But no, I think I left my normal job at the right time, because there never is a perfect time to leave your full-time job. I left at the time because I got offered redundancy. I did get a little bit of money from the time that I'd worked there, which was useful. So I don't regret leaving my position at all. And that step is massive. It's something that a lot of people don't have the courage to do. So actually, I feel quite proud of making that leap into the unknown, breaking away from the safety of having a regular paycheck coming in every month, and yeah, just trying to follow my dream of doing something that I enjoy, because I really strongly believe that we can make a living doing anything at all. So whatever it is that you enjoy doing, then there's a way to make a living out of it. It's just about figuring out what that thing is that you love and how you can make a living out of it. So now I'm going to talk about where I am now with my career. So I've already talked about how I decided that I didn't want to be doing my old job. I've talked about how I actually ended up leaving that job. But now so it was November 2019, and we're now in May 2021. So that's about 18 months that I have been out of the security blanket from that corporate job. One good piece of news is I haven't run out of money yet, which I'm quite amazed about. And I have been trying to build my business during possibly the worst period of time of like my generation. And I've got to be honest, it's been a really, really, really tough 18 months because there's been a large period of time where I haven't actually earned anything at all, and I didn't know when my next paycheck was going to come from. And initially when the pandemic hit, we all thought, oh, it's going to be over in a few months, it'll be fine. But it's just gone on and on and on. So what I decided after a few months is that I've got to find something. I've got to find some way of bringing in some money. So I actually took a job initially working at Amazon in one of their warehouses, which I've got to say is probably the worst job that I've ever done. It was horrible because I was working for like 10 hours a day, pushing a trolley around a warehouse, picking items off the shelf, scanning it, putting it in the trolley, which was pretty monotonous. But I can't remember what it was now, but I calculated how far I walked in a single shift, and I think it was about half a marathon. I think it was about 13 miles a day that I was walking, which is just crazy. I mean, to do that one day is fine, but to do that then 4 days in a row. So I managed to last 4 whole days doing that job, because I've got poorly hips and they couldn't withstand all of the working. No, working was fine. The walking wasn't good. So then I decided that I needed to try and branch out and try and get work from other places. So I got in touch with someone who I've worked with previously on photography and video work, who is a guy called Christian from KickLab. And Christian very generously gave me a job to work with him for a few days a week. And that was doing some copywriting work initially, and also some digital marketing and some sales, which that was a really important part of coming back out of the hole that I was in, because I was doing regular work and feeling like I was contributing to something, but also getting paid at the end of it as well, which was very important from my financial point of view. Then a couple of months after that, I then got another regular client with some other work, which is including video work and photography work. And I've now got a few other clients in there as well. So from the depths of despair about 6 months ago, I now feel like I'm in a much better place, and I'm inundated with work. So I'm pretty much working 7 days a week at the moment. And that's where I am. So I'm now doing a variety of different work. It's not just video, which is what I set out to do, because I'm doing video work, I'm doing photography, I'm doing digital marketing stuff, I'm doing copywriting. I've also started doing a course to teach English online, because I feel like that could be a potential good way of earning money in the future if ever anything dries up. So my real learning point over the last 18 months is when the going gets tough, you've just got to keep going and keep having faith that something will turn up and something will happen, and keep on knocking on doors, because eventually if you knock on enough doors, then opportunities will present themselves and things will happen. And something else that I've learned is that it's good to have a diverse portfolio of skills and things that we can do, especially as a freelancer. So going forward, I'm not only going to be doing video producing, I'm going to continue doing work for KitKlab and doing work for the other freelance clients, and keeping a variety of different work, because not only does that mean that I have a variety of things going on in my life, but it also means that in the future, if ever situations like this happen again, then I'm not putting all of my eggs in one basket. Oh, and I'm also podcasting as well, which is good. So yeah, I'm really happy to be doing this podcast, and hopefully, and I'm sure that this is going to be something that's going to be a long-term thing going on in the future, and that's another string to my bow of the things that I'm going to be doing. So that kind of covers where I am now. I'm now going to explain what my plans are for the future, which I've kind of already covered, that I do want to continue that variety of different work, and having a few regular clients that I can work with. But my plan in terms of my lifestyle and living arrangements are going to be quite drastically different soon. I'm in the process of selling my flat, and I'm going to use the proceeds from that to buy a van and to convert it into a camper van, which I'm then going to spend traveling around the UK, doing video work and photography work and any other bits and pieces, and also spend the winter in warmer climates in like Spain and Portugal, because I feel like I want to just go and explore the world a little bit more rather than being stuck in one place. And it also means that my living expenses are going to be a lot lower while I'm living in a van, but I just kind of feel like I want that adventure. But by being in a van, I can have that as my mobile office, so I can continue to work as I'm traveling around. And then I'll do that for a couple of years, and then who knows after that. But my dream for the future is to find somewhere in the UK to settle down, somewhere in beautiful nature, so maybe somewhere in Scotland, to get a house, to play lots of golf, to do my video work and my photography work and any other things that I might be doing, to keep on doing this podcast, because this is absolutely a long-term thing, and yeah, to really enjoy my life. And I feel like the experience that I've had over the last it's really been the last 10 years, because I'm actually turning 40 in, I can't count the days, it's about 2 weeks. So actually this is quite a poignant point to be recording this podcast, as a way of me self-reflecting on everything that's happened over the last 10 years, because it was turning 30 that really made me look at my life and wonder if I was heading in the right direction. And it's really taken these last 10 years to sort of figure out what it is that I do want to do and to make those changes to make it happen. And I don't want that time scale to put people off, because I'm sure you can do it a lot quicker than 10 years. But I feel like the way that I've done it has been a nice, slow, gradual process. So it's not been taking any unnecessary risks. I have taken risks, obviously, like leaving my job. There's definitely been a lot of amazing times in there, and there's also been some really difficult times. And like I said, the last 12 or 18 months has been really tough. But I absolutely feel really strongly that this change that I've been making over this last decade has been the right thing. I'm not there yet. I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I'm continuing to head in that direction. And I think sometimes in life it's important to have a destination, but we've also got to be flexible in how we get there, because sometimes, like if we're sailing a boat somewhere, then the winds will change and the tides will change, and we've got to be adaptable to that. But if we've got that vision in our mind of what we want to achieve, then really we can achieve anything. So I think that kind of brings me to the end of my story about who I am and who I am and how I got here and what my plans are. So I think the advice that I would give to people about what you can do if you want to do this yourself is, first of all, have the belief in yourself that you can do anything. Like, I've made this change at 30. There's loads of famous people who have made changes to their life in later life. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if you search for people online, there's loads of people who have made big career changes and been able to do it successfully. I think some of the things that have definitely worked for me is experimenting, trying different things, and just trying to discover what it is that I actually like doing. Doing it slowly, so not jumping in head first, but doing it part-time initially, building up those skills, building up that experience, and then taking the plunge. The timing is never going to be completely right, but when we do make that decision and when we do make that change, then we're kind of forced to adapt, and we're forced to motivate ourselves to actually do it. And that would be the advice that I would give. So the final question is, what is my tagline for this story? And my tagline for this story is to do what you love. That's it. It's simple. Do what you love. Because we spend so much of our lives working. We may as well do something that we enjoy, and we could fail at doing a job that we don't like, so we may as well fail at trying to do a job that we do like. And like I said before, I do believe that we can that everyone has the ability to make a living from something that they enjoy, whether that's podcasting, photography, video producing. There's so many things out there. And I think that life is too short to just sit in an office doing a job that you don't like, waiting for Friday to come around and then being bummed out that it's Monday morning. And another reason that I've called it Do What You Love is because one of the first books that I read in my journey was actually called Fuck It, Do What You Love by, and I've written this down, where is it? By John C. Parkin, which is a really inspiring book about following your dreams. So if this has inspired you, go out there, read some books, get even more inspired, watch some videos on YouTube about people who have done this themselves, and that will help move you in the right direction. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed it, then please do give us a thumbs up. There's going to be loads more content like this coming out very soon. We're going to be recording and publishing one episode every single week. So there's going to be loads of really, really great stories coming up. So if you do want to stay in touch and get notified about them, then subscribe on whatever platform you're watching. All of these podcasts are being done as video podcasts. I don't know what the proper word is. So they're going to be going onto YouTube, and then the audio versions of the podcasts will be going onto all of the major platforms, including Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and also if there's anyone that you think might benefit from listening or watching this episode, or might enjoy the podcast with the other episodes that we've got coming up, then please feel free to share it on, because really the purpose of this podcast is to help inspire and motivate and share knowledge with other people, and I am personally really excited about being able to help share those messages from myself in this episode, but also from other people in the episodes to come. So please join us for the next episode. We will be joined by a real life guest next time, and I will see you next time.